One mini world, one creation dream.
Let me switch to the game controller system, okay? So right now we already import the two different items here. What we are going to do is we are going to work on this one, okay? That is going to be the final part, the part that we can customize. And this part is just the basics, which give us extra features, extra rules, and extra music. Of course, we are going to learn the extra music at the end of the class because that's very easy. But we are going to create our game controller system. And how it works, guys. The game controller system has like 3 different scripts, but the basic is the game brain, which actually is going to tell the game, or in many words, what we are going to do before the game starts, and it's going to tell, okay, let's switch the game and let's try to find the best game that suits better for the next part. But also it's going to have some extra dynamics, okay? Why is important this dynamics? Because with this you are going to learn how to create switchable. That means that you can turn off or turn on those dynamics or for the game. That means that we are going to start to create something very similar to a library. And that's important, guys, because with this you can save a lot of work for your end. If you have a library, you can have like some triggers that you can use whenever you need to use it, and you can turn off those whenever you don't need to use it. So with that, we are going to reduce a huge amount of lag, okay? So now, very important, guys. We are going to start to creating this part. Later, we are going to start creating those extra dynamics. But let me give you an example. As an example, a dynamic or something that you use a lot of the times is, as an example, I don't know, the effect when the player gets killed. So as an example, you want the player to just get completely pushed out or knocked back out of the arena. And apart from that, you want to create some specific effects that always happens. And that apart from that is going to send a message and is going to show a text to the player and it's going to reduce the score of the player. Imagine that you have a lot of ways to kill the player, and in every one of them you need to use the same trigger. That's going to take a lot of your time, that's going to take a lot of things, and that part is not the worst part. The worst part is that if you need to edit that or you need to change something on that, you will have to go script by script, or sorry, trigger by trigger to change in that. And that's going to take a lot of time also for improve that part. So when you have a dynamic or something that you have apart from that, it's going to be easier because you only with one specific trigger, you can set up that. So whenever you need to change something, you access to that trigger and you change only that trigger. And that's going to change everything else. So it's like having a spell that you can use by just summon simple words. And whenever you change a spell, you only need to keep those words because the spell is going to be a new spell. It's something like that, okay? So it seems complicated, but it's going to be much easier on the practice. So for this and for creating our brain, we have 2 different triggers. So the first trigger is going to be the register trigger. This is going to be, which actually it's going to create our database, okay? And what is a database? It's a lot of variables that save the information, so the game will read that information later and it's going to automate that. So you don't have to do an extra work. So the first one is going to be the trigger register that is going to create the database for our arenas. We are going to tell the game, hey, in this like specific coordinates, we have this arena with this specific setup. So in this order, we have that, and you can choose whatever of those arenas game and just move the players there. And apart from that, we are going to create the initial conditions for the game. So that means that we are going to start the game, of course. This is going to work when the game is created, okay? So we are going to start with that first one, okay? And let's move to mini words, okay? So we are going to start with triggers. Get ready, guys, your motors, because I know this sometimes this is a little bit hard to understand, but don't worry, I'm going to do my best to explain. So once more, on here in the presentation, everything is going to be in the same folder. We are going to have this folder completely apart from the other parts of the game. So first thing that we are going to do in game is to create the different folders, the different system folders, is because that's going to be very important. I'm going to teach you a way to reduce the amount of usage that your game requires per second. So that means that it's going to turn off the parts that you don't need. And with that, the game speed for your map is going to increase, okay? So how do you do that? First, we are going to create new trigger sets. The first trigger set that we are going to create is going to be named as main systems, okay? Create first this one, rename it. Once you have that folder created, we are going to create a second folder. So the second folder is going to be called MiniGames. This is going to hold or have all the different initial setups for our minigames, okay? Just like the disaster map that we created, remember, for the one of the previous minicamps, it's very similar. Once you create that trigger set, remember, on here you create a new trigger set, we are going to create another folder or trigger set that is going to be named as a minigame loop. And what it's going to hold is all the different rules for the minigames. Remember, the initial values are going to be different at the loop. Loop is something that repeats over and over, so with this we are going to be able to check the rules for the other minigames, okay? Now that you have a minigame loop, we are going to create another trigger, and the trigger is going to be called extra dynamics. Okay, and here I actually put it in kind of Spanglish, half English, half Spanish, but don't worry, now I changed it. So in extra dynamics, we are going to hold that extra library that you are going to create for have like a shortcuts for all the triggers that you will have, okay? So very important, when you create that, it's going to be easier to manage, okay? Welcome, Green Vibes, Claire. Welcome to the class. Okay, it seems that it's a little bit slow right now. Let me check the MiniCamp right here. Okay, in my end it's working fine, so let me try to refresh, okay? Now, when you have the extra dynamics here, just hit and confirm. And now you will be able to have those, okay? Once more, something that I always do and I highly advise you to do is to have the useful triggers folder. So just create another one and you can call it useful triggers. This doesn't matter, okay? In this one you can choose whatever name you want. On here we always put some useful things like auto delete effects or create the timer, okay? So once we have everything on here, once we have all the folders created, we already have the different size systems organization, okay? So we are going to expand this one, the main system, and in my new system we are going to create a new trigger. The name of the trigger is going to be register. This is going to be the first triggers one more. This is going to have or start the game, and the setup that we are going to do for this one is going to be kind of simple. As you see, it's just 4 actions. So you are going to select to add, okay? In add, you are going to select game logic, and on here you have one that says when the game is created. That is the first one, okay? So when game is created, that actually is self-explanatory, we are going to have our first library usage, okay guys? So very important, pay attention for this one. This one is going to be very important, guys. This is going to be the most difficult part at the beginning, but it's going to be the most easier part at the end, okay? So on here, we are going to use the library, okay? We are going to start using our library. Remember, a library is a lot of new actions that you can use on MiniGames. Unfortunately, we cannot use like just put it actions on here. Like, oh, okay, I have a library here, so use those functions. We need to use a line of code. But don't worry, you don't need a lot of code. You only need a part of the code. In this case, we have our library right here. So remember the first script that we import, that it was MiniGame core. All right. Remember that one because on here you are going to see this. Okay. API is like the codes or the lines of codes that you can use to code the different functions of this library. Okay. So if you scroll down on here, you are going to see the description. Okay. So these lines are going to be to manage the minigames, and this one is going to be to spawn the gems or the coins that you are going to spawn around your game. And if you see at here, you have a description that is going to be registered an arena. So that's going to create the arena for our game. What we have to do is to copy this, okay? We only need this. I'm going to explain it later. You can just hit copy and paste and save it. Of course, if you don't understand this part, what also you can do is that you can use the site that we always use. Remember, I'm going to put just the link into the description. And in here, I put you this folder or this file that has like the different shortcuts that we are going to use for our library. Remember, this is not a script, guys. This is just the shortcuts, and you can copy this. As of course, it's organized here. You can see what is going to do what. So in here, we are going to copy just this, okay? So once we got it copied, we are going to move to triggers and we are going to move to main system, okay? And in register, we are going to add a new action. Guys, super important, as this is going to be probably the first time you see this. If you have questions, ask me into the chat. I will be able just to read you and edit that part. So Suba is telling me, hey, Vietnam players say English, bro. I see. Don't worry, Tuan Hai, it's probably not going to speak English. For those that didn't know this, most of the players that assist to this class are not as English speakers for all. Are like from other countries, and they try to access to this class because they want to learn a little bit more. But most of them are not going to be like United States people or UK people. Are going to be most Asians and Latins. Okay, so don't worry for that. But thank you for asking for that, Suba. Thank you for asking Tuan Hai to speak in English. It's okay. So, guys, moving back, once we are going to add new action, you need to go down here and select the action that says execute a script, okay? So with this, you are going to get this new option. The option is going to have scripts on red, okay? So what you have to do is just click on there, and you are going to have this screen. This screen looks exactly as the before screen has. On here you can choose the title that you are going to give. In this case, you are going to put map registration or map database, okay? And with that, when you save it on here, you are going to see that says map register, okay? All right, and of course on here you are going to be a little bit confused because you can tell me or you can ask me what you are going to do here, what the hell you have to do here, because it's just an empty space. Don't worry. First one, I'm going to increase here a little bit the size because you will be able to see better in the screen what you have to do. So you just copy and paste the information that I asked you previously to change, okay? Remember, once more, this is, you can copy directly from the script and you can use the website. And here you can see a description about how you are going to use this, okay? Let me explain how it works. Don't talk on the class because they are going to destroy the class plans, so that's funny. Okay, so first is, let me explain how MiniWord works. When you want to do an action, let's call it like that, it's a function, but we are going to call an action, okay? MiniWords has like a specific syntax that you need to follow. First, you need to put the name of the action, that you can get the actions from the MiniWord API or API, or from the new scripts like this, okay? So how it works? On here you need to put the name of your function import action, guys, and in parentheses you always are going to have like the parameters or like the setups that you can make for this. As an example, if this function will call say something to the player, probably the first thing that you need to put in here is the player name or the player and the text. Okay, this is just an example, remember. That's how you read these functions, okay? So as an example on here, you are going to have this different interface, okay? So in here it's going to tell us that the name of the function or the action that we are going to execute is game arena rec. That is going to be the action that you already create. And this is the information that the action needs, okay? The ID, and this is very important, is the ID of the arena, okay? So we are going to start in 0. That is going to be the first one. The first one that we are going to create is the elimination room, okay? On here we have the minigame name, okay? In this case, as we are going to create an elimination room, we are going to put elimination. That's going to be the name for the minigame. Very important, guys. And very important, notice this, that you are going to have notation marks. Remember, in MiniWord, everything that goes inside notation marks is a text, okay? So very important, this is a text. You see here, it says Y, X, Z. That are going to be the coordinates, guys, okay? And check this, all the different information that you need to put in any special script function are going to be separated by commas. So how do you get the coordinates, guys? Remember, I teach you, or I ask you the last class to check that. So I tell you like something like, just go in the middle of your map or your minigame. And once you are in the middle, what you are going to do is just to go right here and just copy this, okay? Remember, this is going to be X, altitude is going to be Y, and coordinates 15, or the last one is going to be Z. So once more, we are going to, okay, come on, why I can fly. So if we are going to use our elimination room, and very important, guys, you are going to put a 0, or the first thing that we are going to add to our map is the coordinate 0, okay? What you are going to do is just to state in the middle of your elimination room and copy those coordinates here, okay? So let me show you an example on the screen very quickly here. Okay, 1 second, new, okay? And let me put the text right here. Once more, on here, X is going to be this one, the first value. And I think I just interrupting the area, so I'm going to change to this screen so you will be able to see better that screen, guys, okay? So X is going to be a -1. Notice that if here it says minus, you need to use the minus here, okay? It needs to be exactly. Y, or altitude, is going to be this one. That is going to be the second number. And finally, we have C, that is going to be the last number. Okay? Once I take the nodes, once more, for each one of your arenas or minigames, you move back here, you move back to the script that you just put on, okay, the map register one, and we are going to put that information. So notice here that the information here that I was already set up is almost the same, okay? The first one is going to be -1. Okay, remember, the C is going to be the number 2, sorry, the Y, and the C is going to be 16, okay? Now, we got these two different features. So let me explain very quickly how it works. Spawn method is how your players are going to be spawned on that area when they are going to be spawned by the system, guys. So how it works? It has a number for each one of the different methods, okay? So as an example, if you want the players to spawn in the center, or sorry, in random area, and let me put this, random point in your arena, it's going to be the number 1, okay? If you want to the players to, sorry, I cannot copy this very quick. All right, now I will. If you want the players to spawn at the borders in your arena, just put the number 2. And if you want the players to spawn around the center, and very important, it's not going to be in the center, it's going to be around the center, just put the number 3. So once we got this information, just changed it by the number. So if you want random point in your arena, once more, put 1. If you want borders, just put on here the number 2. And if you want around the center, just put number 3. Okay, that will depend of your game, of course. You have a lot of games. Okay, and once more, check your game, okay? So as an example, in the elimination room, as the players doesn't have any way to die or something, it doesn't matter. So I put random numbers so players can spawn around here or spawn around here or in the center, in whatever part of the map, okay? If you check this arena, it doesn't matter too, the players can spawn around any part. But as an example, on this one, that is going to be the ice one, we cannot spawn the players around the borders or in any part, because if probably the player spawn around here, it's going to die, alright? So in this case, I spawn the number 3, or I select the number 3, that is going to be around the center. So players are always going to spawn around this area, okay? And as another example, in the bridge game, that is going to be very similar to the bridge of the Squid Games. Actually, I take the inspiration from there, but in my case, it's more for multiplayer, so I need to do a different thing. But as some of those blocks are going to be broke if you step over, what I did is to make the players spawn around the borders. So in this case, I used the number 2 that is going to be around the corners. So you need to decide which one is going to be the best way to spawn your maps, okay? So imagine that as we are going to do elimination room, just put a number 1 on here. And finally, we have the coin method. Okay, and this is going to be very important. What is the coin method? The coin method is how your map is going to spawn the coins or the stars in your case. So, it's just the same. If you want the gems or the coins or the stars, whatever you put to the things that the player needs to pick up, you need to put a number here. 1 is going to be once more in any part of the scenario, in any part of your minigame. 2 is going to be around the corners, and 3 is going to be in the center. But very important, these also have some extra features, okay? And what will be it? That the game has another feature that is going to be 0. If you put 0, that means that your map is not going to spawn any coins. Probably in some maps, as an example, in my chicken maps, the players need to push the chickens to the different areas, and then when the chicken enters to that area, the chicken is going to die. And when the chicken dies is when the coin is going to be spawned. In that case, as it's going to be a custom spawn system, I just put 0 on there and the system is going to do everything else, okay? So moving back to the trigger once more, okay? In this case, as it's going to be the elimination room, I'm just going to put a 0. That means no coins are going to be spawned on here. And that's it. That's how I finish the first area, okay? So, very important, guys, if we are going to add more minigames, well, we need just to copy this and we need to change the ID. So, the first game, apart from the elimination room, is going to be, as an example, jumping area or something, right? That's the name. On here you put the coordinates, and once more, if I want to spawn this around this, the players to spawn around the center, I change the number here. And if I want the coins to spawn out the borders, I change the number here. As you see, it's very easy, and I already have this created. So that's how you register to different maps. For now, only register to your elimination area. Later, we are going to add more games, and I already have this created right here. This is how it's going to look for the different games. As you see, I have the name for all the games here, okay? Once more, I forgot to put the title here, so I'm going to do it. Maverick history here. And that's it, guys. That's the first thing that we are going to do.